Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you all for Council of Ayurveda Research and Ayurveda Anusandhan Foundation's first General Club meeting for the India chapter today on 16th of December 2020. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Meenakshi Gupta ma'am. She is the chair of Council for Ayurveda Research at USA, and she is heading the US chapter uh, like from several years with wide experience in Journal Club activity. And it was Dr. Pratibha Madam's and Meenakshi ma'am's idea to start the same platform in India to identify various good quality research papers and to discuss that out in the scientific community. Today, I take extreme honor and pleasure to present this paper on COVID management. And in this paper, Ayurvedic clinical profile of COVID is explained. I selected this topic because I thought in the view of recent pandemic, we must understand the various formats of publishing the researches. Very well-known format is clinical study, but sometimes a single case study or a series of cases can also be published in the journal. And this is an illustration for the case series, where a small cohort of 14 individuals, a patient group was studied over the period of time, and the findings were recorded. So let us begin today's presentation with a disclaimer that this presentation is purely for the academic purpose to understand the methods for critically appraising a scientific manuscript, and it by no means intends to harm or criticize the investigators or any other personnel connected to the manuscript or clinical study. The views expressed herewith are with sole purpose to be academic, and the presenter declares no conflict of interest. Today's Journal Club meeting will be focused on two basic foundation approach in the review of this article. One is overall review of the study in the view of INRAD format, and I have used a particular checklist for critical appraisal tool in terms of JBI systematic review checklist for case series. The link is also attached in my presentation. So I hope you have gone through the research article well in advance, as it was circulated on everyone's email. The title of this paper is Ayurvedic Clinical Profile of COVID-19, and it is a preliminary report. Basically, the abstract tells us two important things, again in the INRAD format, but the objective is very clear in this paper, that it is aiming to develop an Ayurvedic clinical profile of COVID-19 by literature review, which is supported by a clinical data of a small cohort patient suffering with COVID-19. So this objective is somewhat unique in nature because COVID-19 was new at that time. This study is 6 months old, and the publication is 6 months old. So at that time, the overall understanding of the disease was in the exploratory stage. So that was a time when decoding of the disease was in process. So this article was having this objective of understanding the literature review along with the clinical evidences. And they have highlighted results that how COVID-19 can be provisionally understood from Ayurvedic perspective, keeping in view various approaches of dosha dusha samurchana, and how various stages of the COVID-19 can be correlated with the clinical presentations based on our Nidan Panchak or Shat Kriyakal, where we can actually develop multiple hypotheses. So I have used IMRAD format to critically appraise this manuscript, and it's a wonderful manuscript to really go through, because this manuscript gives us elaborate discussion along with the findings. Because as I mentioned, the disease was new, and so was our understanding about the disease. So everybody was exploring some part of the COVID-19 in terms of the Ayurvedic literature. So we will begin with this sixth division of this article: introduction, methodology, findings, discussion, limitations and conclusion. I have taken limitations into the primary objective of the study because this is very important to note that limitations should also be reported to the community, research community, because they will identify the setup of the current study, and they can plan their future studies accordingly. So the present article divides the finding in very uniquely mannered under three subcategories of disease profile as per current scientific literature. That is again from modern science. Second is from the clinical data of the cohort, a small cohort. And third is how that can be decoded in the format of classical Ayurveda literature. They have discussed all the findings and results again with these subheadings. Um, First is how COVID-19 can be incorporated or interpreted in terms of Jwara, or second as a type of Sannipata Jwara based on the clinical symptoms, and how the disease progresses in terms of Sannipat Jwara Samprapti. That was a third subtype, subgroup of the discussion. And the fourth highlights the unlisted type of Vata Kapha Pradhan Sannipat Jwara based disease on the basis of review of literature. It also highlights the understanding based on the Nidan Panchak and Dosh Dushya Samvarshana. It is very nice to see that aspect also. Limitations, I will go through that again in detail in the coming slides, and the conclusion part of it. So in introduction, I have highlighted these four aspects for a basic case series kind of a presentation where background information needs to be incorporated in introduction, how you can introduce your specific topic, how previous data can be understood in terms of your objectives, and this study is highlighting all these aspects very nicely. I will keep this option open to ask your queries specifically in the chat box. I have highlighted these paragraphs from the article directly so that you can refer it back and how those particular lines are highlighting the need of research in this article. So like I mentioned, introduction of any clinical research or any research article highlights on why this study was carried out and what was the need in today's scenario. So they have highlighted that the COVID-19 requires a structured approach, particularly considering the Ayurveda sector, because the author believes that Ayurveda offers good solution considering the holistic approach. Second point they have highlighted, and these three lines are scattered in the introduction very nicely, where they are capturing all the important aspects of Ayurveda as well as the COVID-19 gravity in the pandemic status. So in this paper, they are demonstrating that it is possible for allopathic and Ayurvedic doctors to work collaboratively so that a disease can be understood in a better format. So they are using Ayurvedic perspective in collaboration with the modern hospital. It was conducted in Vedanta in Delhi, and that is how they are highlighting that need. An Ayurvedic assessment was also highlighted in the need of the research, and they are identifying that clinical presentation of COVID-19 can also form a basis of Tridosh framework, where you can actually identify a regulatory mechanism and how we can identify the disease manifestation and prognosis, keeping in view the Tridosha theory. So that was the need in the article, which was very well highlighted. Second is why Ayurvedic point of view is needed in COVID pandemic. And this statement, which I'm taking from the article itself, it highlights that when you have Ayurvedic diagnostic and treatment protocol in hand, it becomes easy to integrate into the standard treatment guidelines of COVID-19. And I find it very unique for this article. Again, they are mentioning some of the background information for the authors. This kind of a write-up is very unique, because if this article is being read by the modern medicine experts or someone who is interested in holistic care, they need to know what is Ayurveda and how Ayurveda decodes flu, fever, or viral conditions. So a quick background information has also been included in the introduction. So I believe that this article has covered all these four basic topics in the introduction. Then in the methodology, we generally need to highlight the type of research, methods of data collection, analysis of that data, how you have done that, and what are the tools used and why those tools were used, that rationale for that particular methodology, why this has been used. So this is the general thumb rule for writing a methodology in the literature. So in this article, I couldn't find the exact type of research though, because it is kind of a literature research, because they are taking care of Ayurvedic various samhitas as well as diagnostic books, along with the secondary data from the COVID-19 clinical trials from modern science, and with a clinical arm of a small cohort. So even if they haven't directly mentioned the type of research, we think that it is a literature-based study with a cohort. So it's kind of a case series where you can see all the cases in detail. So method of data collection and analysis part is explained, where they have identified secondary data sources from global reviews and reports regarding COVID, and clinical presentations which are reported from different parts of the world, so that they can identify the outliners and atypical presentation. This, I think, is very unique, and that's why I have highlighted this point, because when you are explaining a small cohort, there could be a atypical presentation coming up which might not fit into that range which you have taken. So you need to identify the outliners and also need to decode the outliners, why that was present in that small cohort. So to overcome that difficulty, the authors took care of secondary data source, so as to know what are the rare possibilities, what are our typical presentation, along with the outlines. Similarly, they have independently analyzed the Ayurvedic literature using all the Brihatrayis like Charak, Sushruta, Vagbhat, along with their commentators, and some of the diagnostic like Jwara Samhita that was used, and it is very nicely mentioned in the article. This was the secondary data source, and the primary data was explained with the help of the patients, 14 patients who were being treated at Medanta Hospital, Gurgaon, and they were examined prospectively till the time of their recovery. Rationale was mentioned using that methodology, and that is what I wanted to mention here, because methodology needs to be justified. So why this particular set of scenario, why this particular patient group is selected. So they have, authors have mentioned this reason that a triangulation approach has been used, where first is the clinical data from the review of scientific literature. Second is review of prospective clinical data from the patients undergoing treatment at hospital. And third was the Ayurvedic literature review. So this kind of triangulation approach is generally seen in a qualitative research. And case series is the best example to identify qualitative research in a better light. The second part of the methodology highlights that pathophysiology of the disease, because they are getting so many literatures, sources, and putting it together. So pathogenesis of the disease was traced from the clinical patients, like those who was undergoing treatment, right from the point of contact, and till the development of all the stages, and till the recovery or death of the patient. So overall, a prospective pattern was followed, and that particular data was corroborated with insights from experienced Ayurveda physicians in the team, as well as the modern physicians in the hospital. So for this reason, they have taken ethical approvals for patient data review, because that's confidential data for the hospital, and the confidentiality agreement was also signed with the hospital. And this needs to be mentioned in the research article that is also highlighted here. The baseline data was compiled with a structured questionnaire, and this questionnaire is explained in formats of tables in the article. If you can see table number 1, 2, and 3, they are uniquely designed based on symptomatology and prognosis of the disease along with the laboratory reports. Like particular findings, if it was repeated, they have mentioned that in the table. That baseline data was very well compiled in the article. However, the number of patients were limited to 14. Maybe at that time, it was the Ayurveda doctor was not directly allowed in the hospital, and that they have categorically mentioned in the article also. And maybe that was the limitation coming up for the limited cases. A second set of data was collated, summarized, and assessed during hospital stay of that patients. And again, like I mentioned, Ayurveda physicians and allopathic clinicians were kept in the loop to discuss various approaches and various clinical symptomatic presentation of the patients. So methodology is very well elaboratively mentioned in the article. Again, in the third part of the methodology, they have identified that cardinal signs which can be correlated, keeping in view Ayurvedic perspectives. So 5 clinical conditions are described in text which can be directly examined in clinically present scenario, where fever, cough, dyspnea, consumption like Rajakshma like symptom, or poisoning, Visha kind of symptoms are being correlated with that particular set of patient. And they have also identified a small little, you can say, a disclaimer that being a new disease and not previously described in Ayurvedic text, a detailed Nidan Panchak is not available, but they have tried to decode the Nidan Panchak in the discussion, and that we are going to see in the next slide. So as per this methodology, which was a triangulation kind of a approach along with clinical presentation and focus group discussion with the doctors, every data set was collected from every format, and then the findings were recorded. I found this kind of recording very interesting because in Ayurveda, explaining the complex terms for a modern medicine practitioner sometimes becomes difficult. So if you can decode the disease on various formats, it becomes easy to understand for any healthcare professional around the world. And that is the need of the hour for today. So they have divided the finding category into 2 major groups, or for that matter, 5 major groups, but subgroups were also added. Like the first one is disease profile. And according to the current scientific literature from all over the globe, they have collected what is the mild case look like, moderate or severe, and what are the clinical presentations of the disease, what kind of investigations can be used, what kind of treatment patterns can be used. So that kind of a disease profile is being collated from in the first finding section. The second section deals with clinical data from the cohort. So this clinical data is again divided into 8 subtypes or subgroups. That what was the patient background, and in this article they are mentioning that all the patients are Italians coming to India as a tourist, and they happen to have this they happen to get treated in the hospital where they got diagnosed as COVID positive patients, and they were asymptomatic in the beginning, and how they developed the disease over the period of time and how they recovered. So patient background is clearly mentioned, which is again a nice concept, keeping in view the case series. Secondly, they highlighted the patient age group. So only one of them was 45 years old, others were in the range of 60 to 80. So that means the age group is in the senior citizen category, you can say. So 60 to 80 is quite a senior for that matter, and they were all travelers. For the comorbidities, because based on the disease profile from the previously captured data, it was evident that comorbidities worsen the COVID scenario. So they captured that also, and comorbidities were seen in 7 patients out of 10. Maybe hypertension, benign prostatic hypertrophy, cardiac diseases, and diabetes. So that is also being noted. The fourth subgroup is condition at admission. Like I mentioned, they were all asymptomatic, but slowly they began to have fever, cough, dyspnea, and the symptoms at the sequence of onset is also being explained in table 2. And table 2 is really very unique in terms of that symptomatic profile of all the patients. So P1 to P14, you can see all the patients on various symptom scale. And along with the condition and symptom, they have mentioned the clinical course of the disease, like how many patients recovered, how many patients landed up into critical phase, how many patients got into the more severe version of the disease. In fact, one of the patient died during the course of the disease. So that clinical course is also captured here. And whatever medications were given at that particular point were also noted, because this article talks about only modern medicine, maybe because that time the entry for Ayurveda doctors was not allowed, and that is why there is no mention of Ayurvedic medicine or any Ayurvedic regime for in terms of diet or other practices mentioned in the article. So that could be the reason. So the captured medication segments are clearly mentioned along with the names of the drugs. Many symptomatic treatments are used along with concomitant medications for comorbidities. So antacids, analgesics, antipyretics, and some of the patients were also developed acute respiratory distress syndrome. So for that, they were specially administered with ritonavir and lopinavir combination. Hydroxychloroquine was being used at that time along with azithromycin, and 2 patients needed that kind of intervention as well. And then at the end of this clinical data, where they have identified all the subtypes, the 8th component is very crucial, because they are comparing that patient data with the literature review. That okay, literature review says that mild cases generally get recovered in these many days, or there are chances of comorbid patient to land up into the critical zone. So that way they actually compared these 14 patients with the literature review, and that is something very unique. So even if this article doesn't directly talk about Ayurvedic pathophysiology or clinical capturing of the data, that clearly identifies a need that how we can compare the clinical data with not only with Ayurvedic literature, but also with the current scientific literature. The third set of finding focuses on disease profile. And in the previous one, they compared with the modern medicine literature. And in the third segment, they are comparing the disease profile with Ayurvedic literature. And I would like to mention few good points of this article, that they are going with a sequence of Bruhatrayi, Laghutrayi, and some of the diagnostic textbooks of Ayurveda. So it is a very unique approach of covering all the important literature of Ayurveda. So like I would like to highlight this particular line from the article, that we found that Sushruta Samhita has described epidemic fevers presenting with cluster of symptoms like cough, breathing difficulty, vomiting, headache, which directly resembles with severe acute respiratory syndrome. With of course, the referencing and everything is in place. Not only for Sushruta Samhita, they use the commentary from Dellana, but after completing the Sushruta review, they kind of summarized it with that review, that okay, so this is dealing with Jwara and Bhuta Vishanga, where Agantuj and Sannipata Jwara is considered in Sushruta Samhita. So they are kind of summarizing one Samhita at a time. So it's a good way of presenting all the literature in place. And then they move forward to Charak Samhita, where they are highlighting that general features are mentioned as per Sannipata Jwara, and how Sushruta Samhita is differing on that, how Vagbhata is describing only general features, how Sushruta is highlighting Agantuj part of it. Like that, they are comparing in between the Samhitas also to have a 360-degree review of the disease profile finding, and it's very uniquely done. So, and I would like to highlight this because Ayurvedic literature review is itself is very complex, that we sometimes get totally lost in the translation, or sometimes we are getting so many variables in place that we can't put it together. So this is the unique approach where you can go Samhita wise, then you can summarize that Samhita, then you can correlate all the Samhitas together. Um, then the disease profile in Ayurvedic perspective, like I mentioned, Charak or Sushruta is mentioned, and then the discussion starts with identify, and generally in any case series or any qualitative research, correlations are captured from the data, from the patterns, and then that objective of the study is highlighted. So they discuss results in the point of hypothesis and objective of the study. Then the context is being set that, okay, we got these many data sets from secondary data, primary data, and now we can correlate these theories together so that a hypothesis can be developed. So this article very nicely captures that findings into discussion, and they divided discussion in a very unique manner so that many theories will come up. Suppose somebody wants to take up a research only focusing on Jwara aspect of it, because Jwara itself is a an encyclopedia for a clinician. But if somebody wants to take up a research only on the Jwara, they will think that hypothesis, they will think take up that theory, or somebody might think on the basis of Vata Kapha Pradhan Sannipat Jwara base. So various approaches and theories are highlighted in discussion, like as a type of Jwara, or maybe not just Jwara, but it's a Sannipata Jwara where all the doshas are dominant, and that is again compared with clinical symptoms. And this table 3 is very nicely done because Sannipata Jwara symptoms and the clinical representation is being correlated very nicely. Then the third aspect is, or third theory, I would say, is about Nidan Panchak, because it is a new disease. So this article focuses on how Ayurveda physician can decode this disease using basic principles of Nidan Panchak. What was the hetu, how the dosha dusha samurchana happened, what was the prognosis of the disease, like that, and how the samprapti can be intervened in terms of getting good results. So that is a nice approach for, again, Ayurveda based case series. The fourth is unlisted type of Vata Kapha Pradhan Sannipat Jwara, because sometimes Sannipata Jwara also needs to subcategorize that which dosha is dominant, so that to get a proper review on the treatment. So they have identified that theory also. And the fifth is how we can understand COVID-19 based on analysis of all the Nidan factors, dosha, dusha, samprapti, as well as prakriti. So, and this portion 4.5 is elaborately discussed in this article, right from 4.5.1 to 4.5.5. All the subcategories of disease manifestations are being taken care of, right till the personalization of the disease identification, like Prakriti, how Prakriti can be important for COVID-19, why some of the patients are landing into critical phase, why some of the patients are getting recovered, or why some of the patients are asymptomatic. It is very nicely explained on the basis of totally Ayurvedic principles of Nidan Panchak. And the highlight of this study is limitation, because very rarely people identify these limitations and they put it on the paper. But generally, limitations are shared basis of resources, time, sample size, funds, or maybe a multivariable approach, because multivariables need more data, more time, more sample, like that. But here, in this study, they are not talking about anything. They are just mentioning that this particular article focuses on a cohort, and as there were no Ayurvedic doctors involved, a comprehensive Ayurvedic understanding was not sufficiently done, was in fact not done. It was indirectly done with the viewpoints of a modern practitioner, that way. So that challenge, that limitation was more emphasized in this article. The other problem was multiple variable, because the disease has a very short time zone, like 14 days or 15 days, with dynamic progression, many disease variables, various investigations, various analysis of the data, the complex interaction between agent and host, because every person is reacting to the disease in a different way. So incubation period to the clinical presentation, to the clinical course, and the outcome of the disease is very complex. So that itself is a limitation of the study. And in the conclusion, the authors have put it in very precisely on what is the take-home message from this article, and how this small case series and the literature review gives us a perspective for the future treatment. So generally, in conclusion, we restate what we have found, we summarize, and we conclude, and everything is totally on the mark for this article as well. So that article, I have taken these 3 lines from the article because it is very specific, and you can see how that sentence is being drafted, like based on a preliminary analysis of literature. So it says that literature reporting about clinical symptoms of COVID. Then second is they are mentioning the triangulation approach here. So based on the first approach is clinical symptom reports, second is clinical presentation, and classical Ayurveda literature. So everything is all there in one sentence. We suggest that COVID-19 can be classified as Agantu Jwara with Vata Kapholvana Pradhan Sannipataj Jwara Samprapti presentation. So this one sentence gives you a clear-cut idea what they are trying to summarize here. Also, they are taking one more line into that dominance of Pitta in certain stages of the disease and in some patients should be considered, because Pitta being the integral part of Jwara Samprapti. And they are also again highlighting the limitation part, that there is a need of future studies, and under which category they are also mentioning that detailed analysis of clinical symptomatology of a cross section of COVID-19 patients from diverse population is needed, not only from India but from various parts of the world, because it will give you various approaches of the disease. So it was a quick review about the article. Now I will just go to the checklist, which I mentioned in the beginning, that checklist which is being used for understanding, or critically appraise a case series kind of article. So Jonah Bridge Institute of Critical Appraisal Tools are used here. And this tool is very simple. That's why I have selected this one, because it mentioned about 10 points. And you have to mark yes, no, unclear, and not applicable from the case series. And I'm sharing this checklist because this checklist can be utilized for other case series type of articles also. So let us just go from checklist point number 1. So we can see that where there are clear criteria for inclusion in the case series, there is no clear criteria for inclusion in the case series. However, they have identified all COVID-19 patients where they got access to report and document the data. So it was like a, you can say, a purposive sampling method where actually inclusion criteria is not being used. It is just like you have a disease and you are getting into the cohort. So for this article, I couldn't find that. This topic is open for discussion again, but as per the checklist point number 1, I couldn't find that. However, they are in detail specifying the disease stage, the disease pattern of all the 14 participants. Checklist point 2 highlights on the condition measures in a standard, reliable way for all participants included in the case series. I think that is being done in this article, and the study clearly describes the method of measurement of the COVID-19, where they are using all the classical Ayurvedic as well as the modern parameters to understand the disease. So this is definitely being done in this article. Checklist point number 3 is about methods. So are the methods valid? That was the first point. Yes, there were 3 methods used. First is current data on COVID from modern literature, second from the clinical cohort, and third from the Ayurvedic context. So all these methods were clearly identified, and all the participants were decoded on these 3 aspects. So you can see this into the table formats where everything is mentioned as per the patient number 1 to patient number 14. So this is, I think, being done. Checklist point 4 targets case series have a consecutive inclusion of participants. Now, consecutive inclusion of participants that means that which indicates a consecutive inclusion or not. For example, like if a case series that states we included all patients with osteosarcoma who presented to our clinic between March 2005 and June 2006 is more reliable, so they are mentioning exact inclusion format than to simply say that we report case series with 24 patients of so and so disease. So you need to have a specific inclusion period, or that we call it as a consecutive inclusion of the participants, and this is being mentioned in the article, not in terms of the time zone, but they have mentioned that this study was done in Medanta with 14 patients, but time zone is not directly mentioned. Checklist point 5 denotes that case series have complete inclusion of participants. So the completeness of case series contributes to its reliability. If some case is being withdrawn or there is a dropout from the case series, then again you have to include somebody else to meet up that cohort. Or if that is not happening, you at least have to report that these many were withdrawals, these many were dropouts. So the completeness of case series contributes to the reliability to a greater extent, and we need to mention that how many patients were at the beginning of the study and how many completed the overall assessment. And in this study, 14 patients were progressively observed till the time of recovery or death. One of them died and 13 recovered. So that can also be seen in table number 3, where R and D are used as the last point of the symptomatic profile, and that is clearly mentioned. So checklist point 6 says that whether there was a clear reporting of demographics. Yes, it was done in this article because all the participants were Italian, being treated in India. So that was clearly mentioned. Also, the time period and age, the sex and everything is clearly mentioned. Checklist point number 7 is clinical information. And I must congratulate all the authors for this article that they are really reporting in a very nice format for the clinical information of the patients, because they are identifying not only Ayurvedic parameters, but also diagnostics of the individual and treatment format. So disease status, disease profile is also captured, symptomatic profile is also captured, and also the results, the outcome of the management. So this is, we can mark it as yes. Checklist point 8 is where the outcomes or follow-up results of cases clearly reported. Yes, like I mentioned, 13 out of 14 were recovered, one died. So that was also monitored. In fact, they have also mentioned that in the methodology that this case series is a prospective cohort. That itself means that it is being traced down in the timeline. Checklist point number 9 is, was there clear reporting of the presenting site, clinic, demographic information? Yes, it was there. And even if the patients were from Italy, the site of the hospital is also mentioned 1 or 2 times in the article. And also they highlighted that in the limitation also that all demographic population needs to be considered when you have to decode COVID in terms of Ayurvedic symptom and the disease prognosis. So that kind of demographic angle is being considered by authors. And checklist point number 10, was statistical analysis appropriate? Being, I would say, a qualitative research, majority of the findings were reported in terms of yes, no, or sometimes the symptomatic listing of the patients in terms of like P1 to P14. But being a qualitative kind of assessment, you can see that statistically, not inferential statistics is not being used. So just you'll get a detailed representation in tables and graphs. And also there is a good figure number 1, which highlights the Nidan Panchak. And that diagrammatic review of Ayurvedic Nidan Panchak is very unique. And we must identify various samprapti and various disease profiles on that ground, where a single diagram can make it simpler for other healthcare professions other than Ayush, I would say. So we generally take it for granted that they will understand the terminology, but we need to make it simpler or decode it further so that that becomes appropriate. So that was for the overall review of the article. I must appreciate the support, and I'm extremely thankful to the team of Council for Ayurveda Research and Ayurveda Anusandhan Foundation for identifying that I can be chair and I can work in that capacity in India chapter. So I would also like to thank organizers, participants, and authors of the manuscripts for really giving us a nice opportunity to highlight case series formats for Ayurveda research. And thank you so much for being there. I would like to open this forum for questions, if there are any. We are having 10 minutes because we started late. So we are having 10 minutes in hand in case you are having any questions. Meenakshi ma'am, if you want to add some points to the presentation, it will be really nice. I hope she is there. It's very early in the morning there in US. Yeah. She's not there. Any questions from the participants? And the presentation along with the recording is available on the Council for Ayurveda Research website under the resources for Journal Club. So you can anytime visit. If you have any questions, please unmute and you can ask. Hello. Yes, Dr. Amulya, you want to say something? Hello, good evening.
No, ma'am, it was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am extremely sorry I bit late, but it was very helpful. I was inspired that, and I'm planning to do the same kind of research over here in Nepal.
Oh.
I hope in coming days I will be able to present this kind of work from my country as well. Thank you. It was a wonderful presentation.
Really. Thank you so much, Dr. Amulya, for being there and appreciating it. Thank you so much. Any questions, or we can close for the day? The next Journal Club meeting will be announced shortly, and we are planning to have it in the month of January. So keep your eyes on the Council for Ayurveda Research page on Facebook, as well as I'll be keeping you posted on the emails, and you can contact me back for any help for the membership as well as for Journal Club. Thank you so much for being there.
Yeah, Dr. Pranita, it was a very nice presentation. And it was
Thank you.
really helpful. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being there.
Thank
It
you.
was, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Shall I close for the day? Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Amulya. Bye.